All right, welcome back, 8th graders. I am so incredibly pumped for today's explainer because, well, we're looking at something that is both absolutely terrifying and deeply majestic. We are talking about the sheer, unstoppable power of global wind systems. So get ready because we are going on an amazing global journey today to track some of the biggest, most mysterious forces on planet Earth.
Listen to this. The wind blows where it wishes, and you hear its sound, but you do not know where it comes from or where it goes. That's from John chapter 3, verse 8. And honestly, doesn't that just perfectly capture the mystery of the wind? You know, we can feel it, we can certainly hear it howling outside our windows, but there's this deep sense of awe in how it operates across the entire globe. So today, we're going to act as global detectives. We're tracking down where this wind comes from, where it goes, and what exactly happens when it forms into the absolute most powerful storms on the planet.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1. The what? Same storm, different zip code. So we're going to start by mapping out the geography of these massive storms, because as you'll see, location is quite literally everything when we're talking about this kind of weather. The foundational scientific name for these weather events is a tropical cyclone. It's basically just a powerful, rotating storm system, period. That's the baseline phenomenon. But here's the secret that meteorologists know. Hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones are literally the exact same type of storm. Think of it kind of like a regional dialect. You know how some people call a fizzy drink soda and others call it pop, or even Coke? It's the exact same sugary carbonated drink, right? But the name just changes depending on where you live? Well, these storms work the exact same way.
In fact, consider this your ultimate cheat sheet for your homework. If our rotating storm system forms in the Atlantic Ocean or the Northeast Pacific, it earns the title of hurricane. But if that exact same system forms over in the Northwest Pacific, it's called a typhoon. And if it forms in the Indian Ocean or the South Pacific, it's simply called a cyclone. It's wild, right? The exact same weather system literally just changes its name when it crosses an invisible ocean border.
All right, let's move on to our next section. Section 2, the how, measuring the monster.
Now, understanding these names is one thing, but figuring out how scientists actually measure the raw, destructive power of these massive storms, that is where the science gets really intense. Now, what's really interesting about this is how we actually quantify that danger. Because no matter what they're called globally, these storms are incredibly powerful and extremely dangerous. Scientists use wind speed to rank them on what's called the famous Saffir-Simpson scale. It ranges from a Category 1, which represents the least intense storms, all the way up to a Category 5, which signifies the absolute most intense, catastrophic storms imaginable. It's just a clear, straightforward 1 to 5 ranking of raw danger.
Let's actually walk through a brief historical timeline just to see exactly what those top-tier categories look like in the real world. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina formed in the Atlantic Ocean and became one of the most devastating hurricanes in U.S. history. Jump to 2013, Typhoon Haiyan, forming in the Northwest Pacific, hit the Philippines with truly deadly force, becoming one of the strongest tropical cyclones ever recorded. And then in 2019, Cyclone Idai formed in the Indian Ocean, causing massive damage in southeastern Africa. So the really crucial point here is this. No matter the year and no matter the region's specific name for the storm, a top-level Category 5 tropical cyclone delivers globally devastating force anywhere it lands.
Which, naturally brings up a pretty big question. Why not just call them all cyclones? I actually want you to think about that for a second. If they're the exact same storm, measured by the exact same wind speeds on the Saffir-Simpson scale, and causing the same kind of damage, why make it confusing with all these different names? I mean, if you were a global scientist, wouldn't it be way easier to just have one universal name? Well, it turns out there are highly practical, real-world reasons for this naming convention.
Which brings us to Section 3, the why, connection and communication.
See, understanding why we use these different names isn't just about passing a geography test. It's honestly a matter of life and death. Understanding why this matters could literally save lives when a storm is approaching. There are a few crucial reasons why this matters so much. First off, distinct regional names completely speed up government safety warnings. Like when someone in Florida hears the word hurricane, they instantly know it's in their specific region, and they need to react right now. Secondly, it helps global meteorologists track and communicate about storms effectively without, getting their regions crossed up. Third, it really highlights our brilliantly interconnected planet. Weather in one region can entirely affect another. And finally, it shows God's consistent design globally. We see that storm seasons vary across the globe, yet they share the exact same scientific characteristics. God has created a planet
where these massive planetary systems work consistently and perfectly across oceans and continents, no matter the region.
All right, let's look at our final section. Section 4. The Who. Smart minds, right choices.
I want to slow things down just a bit right here and get a little more serious. We've spent this explainer looking at the beautiful interconnectedness of our global weather systems, but I want to pivot right now to something even more closely connected to you, the interconnectedness of your own mind and your morality. Education without morality will hurt. This is the core philosophy of the heroesmartacademy Godly Learners series, and it is just deeply, deeply true. Think about it. You're 8th graders. You are gaining all this incredible scientific knowledge about the world, learning how to track storms, learning how the planet works. But what is the point of being smart and supposedly highly educated if you just continue to make bad choices that cause harm to yourself and to those around you? Knowledge is power, exactly like the winds of a cyclone. But without a moral compass to direct it, that power can be terribly destructive.
And that brings us to an incredible promise. Romans 8:6 and 7 promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps his or her mind spiritual. This is exactly what we experience as people engage with our content. True education isn't just about, memorizing the Saffir-Simpson scale or knowing the technical difference between a typhoon and a hurricane. True education actually intertwines your growing knowledge of the world with deep, biblical morality. That is what brings true, lasting peace of mind.
So, I want to leave you all with a final, pretty provocative question to think about today. Will you choose to pair your growing knowledge with a spiritual mind? As you continue to investigate the majesty of God's creation, from the howling winds of a hurricane to the quiet moments in your own daily life, just remember that true wisdom is choosing to use your education to make good, moral choices. Thank you so much for diving into this explainer with me today. Stay curious, keep your mind spiritual, and I'll see you next time.